Hello, today is just a quick demo of some of the compliance trackers for different robotics standards. So we have this old project for an AMR for material handling, and we can go over to standards and see that a couple standards have already been selected using the standards finder for this product. So the two standards that are currently present here, which are common for AMRs, are 13049-1 for the compliance of the control system, the safety-related parts of the control system, and 3691-4, which has a whole bunch of requirements for industrial trucks generally. So what you can see is that for standards that we have trackers for, track pops up right here, and you click in there and see a little bit of what we have here for you. So there are some really exciting things that are present here. The big one that we'll spend some time on is the survey that we use to gather all the information you need to figure out what you need to prepare and what actually applies to you. We tell you about the tests you're going to have to run, the documents you're going to have to prepare, and what kind of work you need to do, as well as, most importantly, all of the reference standards and clauses and the resolutions of those. So for example, you can see that clause 4.1.3 and 3691-4 has references to EN 1175. So if you are trying to additionally comply with that standard, or you may see that you have to additionally comply with that standard in particular capacities, you can use that information here. Also click Ask an Expert, go find the relevant standards, all of that, and of course, view the PDFs if you paid for that. Okay, so let's start with, for example, a view into all of the survey questions you have to answer. For example, the applicability of different statements in the standard. So let's keep an eye on a couple things. You have some clauses, 102 on the left, and let's answer some questions regarding what actually applies. So if we say, for example, that there's no manual operating mode in your product, then okay, well, 102 clauses still apply. Will it operate in automatic mode? Maybe no. All right, so 102 still apply. Will it operate with a writer? No. So you get a bunch of these properties that we're going to go through and answer, and they'll mark clauses as compliant or non-compliant. So now we've said explicitly, okay, there is dedicated maintenance mode, then we can exempt ourselves from a whole bunch of clauses. Maybe if we mark this one, there we go. We mark ourselves as yes, there is a writer. Then we also introduce some new clauses that apply specifically regarding the maintenance mode. So this gives us a whole bunch of the details that we need. Okay, so let's skip past this. You can, for example, load an example scenario, and let's go over and see some of the clauses. You can click into every one of these and see, for example, what the design check mandated from some overall requirement would actually be. So this one discusses the ISO 12100 risk assessment for hazard identification and zone setting. And you can see that if there are particular documents, tests, questions, requirements, etc., that are mandatory to ingest here, they'll show up right there. Now, you can also click into documents and you can see what you actually need to prepare. So you see that, okay, for compliance in our final technical file, which will show up under reports, you need an instruction handbook. You can see I've already uploaded one, but you can also generate one. So for example, we can prepare the routine service and maintenance manual. Click generate, and we generate the full document. We can say, just go off the lack of samples. It takes a couple seconds, but it'll bring you back a template for this document based on information you provided, like your existing specs, existing properties of your product, et cetera, et cetera. And most importantly, it'll give you a whole bunch of the questions that you'll need to answer. So you can see these are pretty general in this case because the routine service and maintenance manual, we didn't load from the standards, so it's a pretty generic definition. But there will be key questions that you do have to answer, like what properties of your robot require routine maintenance, the kind of things that we won't really know until you answer these. And we can help you answer all of those using these auto-writing prompts. So I'll pause this while that generates. There we go. Cool. All right, and you can regenerate the full document based on that answer. So while it's generating, I'll just leave the final point that the statement that we're trying to make here is that, hey, you're assembling all the documentation you need for your compliance statement and for your technical file. But for example, if you're using this for a different standard, this is the kind of thing that we as Saphira can assemble in the matter of minutes or hours. So if you come to us and you say, hey, I need to figure out a tracker for my ISO 27001 compliance for IT security, then we can assemble one of these for you really, really quickly. We already have them for dozens of robotics and machinery standards, since that's really where the rest of the focus of Saphira goes around safety assessment and gap analysis, but we can help you on every front of this. And if you're excited to check this out, give us a call. Thanks for watching.